104.5 FM. A deaf
Much innocent.
You are hungry? Come to Kula Runnings Restaurant. Located at 1802 Nearwood Avenue, corner of Wickham Avenue in the Bronx, we specialize in the best Jamaican and American cuisine, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We are open 24 hours, 7 days a week. We offer free in-house delivery, minimum $20 purchase, and we also have Uber Eats. We do barbecue Thursdays, fish fry Fridays, and seafood Saturdays. For more information, give us a call for our address and menu. 718-324-7484. Once again, that's 718-324-7484. Kula Runnings Restaurant. Simply the best Jamaican food.
Western Union is here for you. Available 24/7 every day. The Western Union app and website gives you the option of sending money from the comfort of your home straight to your loved ones. With Western Union, you can send money to banks in Jamaica, including Scotiabank, National Commercial Bank, First Global Bank, and more. Tell your receiver in Jamaica to register their bank account at the nearest Western Union location and receive funds directly into their bank accounts. Get fast and convenient service when you download the Western Union mobile app or go online at wu.com. For more information, visit wu.com or call 718-801-9370. That's 718-801-9370. Services may be provided by Western Union Financial Services Incorporated, NMLS number 906-93, and or Western Union International Services LLC, NLMS number 906-985, which are licensed as money transmitters by the New York State Department of Financial Services. See terms and conditions for details.
Another Monday. My name is Denise Lady D. Gomez. Monday, June 1, 2020. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show this afternoon. You know I like to mellow with my good afternoon. Welcome to Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez, the community platform where information is guaranteed. Hashtag host Lady D, hashtag ITZ Radio, hashtag community life. Email InsideTheZoneNYC@gmail.com and on Facebook, Lady D, Denise Gomez. Also on Facebook, Inside the Zone. On Instagram, Lady D, Denise Gomez. In this afternoon's feature of the Monday Drive, the Monday Beat Voices Music Zone, a Jamaica ting and keeping you in the know. Monday Drive, keeping you in the know in the city you walk, drive, and reside. Where do you live? Where are you tuning in to the show from? I wonder, I wonder. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the show this afternoon. Once again, my name is Denise Lady D. Gomez, and I will be with you until 7 p.m. this afternoon. It should be interesting at 6 p.m. today because we'll be talking about children. We'll be having the talk, the conversation. Chris Wilby joins me at 6 o'clock, and we'll be talking about the spate of police-involved shootings of our black men in the United States. How do we have the conversation with our children? The show is brought to you by Cooler Runnings Jamaican Restaurant, 1802 Nereid Avenue in the Bronx, and Corey's Eats. (3762) Boston Road. Welcome to Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7. And Sign FM 88.9. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I celebrated, my family and we celebrated with one of my cousins who reside in England. And we hosted, well, I did the hosting, a Zoom party. And it was nice. And I played music. They danced. We had games. We reminisced. You know, family, not just because of the social distancing and the fact that we couldn't all be assembled in one space, but when you have good family, you feel good, you know? 18 minutes after 5 o'clock, the Monday Beat, Chasing the Monday Blues Out of Here is coming up. Our telephone number is 914-600-4228. Stay with me, don't go anywhere. We're getting into the Monday Beat, Chasing the Monday Blues Out of Here. And guess what Monday it is today? I have dubbed today Morgan Heritage Monday. Last week I had Dennis Brown Monday, if you recall, because I know we're all not 16 again. You know, I like to say that I'm not 16 no more. But anyway, it's Morgan Heritage Monday today. And so I'm going to start off this show like this.
soul. Now I'm on my way. Anyone come to see me this day? Tell them I'll be gone for the day.
I'll be down by the river, waiting for the good Lord to pass my way. Oh yeah, I'll be down by the river, singing songs of joy on this lovely day. On this lovely day, singing songs of joy. Oh, oh, yeah! Oh Lord, we can see Jacqueline's reggae music once again. It's so nice, it's so sweet, it's so beautiful to see. The people live in sweet, sweet love. Oh yeah, I feel the vibes. Lord knows it feels right. We can feel your love, boy, flowing amongst mankind. Give thanks for sweet reggae music and this positive vibe. Reggae music send a positive charge to the hearts of mankind. Reggae bring back love in the hearts of the people. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. Oh Lord, reggae bring back love in the heart of the ghetto. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. Oh yeah, it's all coming back the way we used to vibes. Oh brothers and sisters in a dancehall style. Oh what a sweet sensation, Rastaman vibration. Take hold of reggae sensation with this young generation. Reggae bring back love in the heart of the people. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. Oh Lord, reggae bring back love all across the world, Lord. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. Get somebody to play a solo. Let the people feel good, man. Come on. Oh Lord, yeah. Oh Lord, reggae bring back love. Everybody sing along. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. Oh yeah, reggae bring back love in the heart of the people. Reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. Oh yeah. It's so nice, it's so sweet, it's so beautiful to see. The people live in sweet, sweet love. Oh Lord, it's so nice, it's so sweet, it's so beautiful to see. The people live in sweet, sweet love. Oh Jah, reggae bring back love. Oh Lord, reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. All across the world, Lord, reggae bring back love. In the heart of the people, reggae bring back sweet, sweet love. I feel the vibes. Lord knows it feels right. Oh, we can feel your love, yeah, flowing amongst mankind. Give thanks for sweet reggae music and still loving me. And I can't deny. Oh no, 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 no. Since she's been in my life, everything's been going fine. And I proudly to the world, yeah. She's mine, one and only. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't gonna leave my lady. Oh no, no, she's mine, one and only. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't gonna leave my lady. 'Cause she's truly mine, and most of what she does makes me feel so good inside. Tell the Lord inside, and I said, oh, she's the right one for me. He made no mistake, and I say this with no apology. Grams, won't you sing about your lady?
She's still loving me, yeah. Through all the trials and days, yeah. For I played around, still yet she held it down. Yeah, she did. She's still loving me. Even though I made her cry, oh, caused her many sleepless nights, oh, and I had to make it right, oh, 'cause she's mine,
One and only. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't gonna leave my lady. No, no, no. She's mine, one and only. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't gonna leave my lady. 'Cause she's truly mine. And most of what she does makes me feel so good inside. Oh, oh, oh. Someone tell the Lord for me, He made no mistake. And I tell the world there's no apology. Hey, hey, hey.
It is 5:30 p.m. And as I mentioned, it's Morgan Heritage Monday. Morgan Heritage Monday. Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez. Good afternoon. Hey, Gloria and Pat and Eddie and Donald. And Yam Lady, wherever you are. Arlene. And Tafari. And Keith.
I ain't gonna leave my lady.
All the old timers. I'm stuck in time with you. 5:31 p.m. Good afternoon once again. Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7. Log on to Inside the Zone on the YouTube channel. That's my channel. Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez, and you will catch me there. And I just want to say hi to you, and you, everyone who is tuning in this afternoon. Want to say hello to you. Once again, our telephone number is 914-600-4228. That's 914-600-4228. Voices, the intellectual voice that has everyone talking. This afternoon, I give you voices with a difference. I give you voices with a difference this afternoon. The 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. Just want to bring you up into speed, bring you in the know, because it's so important for us to keep ourselves apprised of what's going on in terms of our current affairs, which is quite daunting, distressing at this point in time in our nation's history, the nation in which we live, the United States of America. And at 6 p.m., we will be discussing, how are we going to have the conversation with our children concerning the police-involved shootings? How are we going to do that? How have you started to do it, if at all? Or are you sitting and cursing and swearing in front of your television sets, or when you're reading the news on your devices, or you're reading it from print? How are you speaking in the presence of your children about what's going on? We'll also be talking about the findings that came out of the autopsy for George Floyd this afternoon. So much to do, and we hope to have you join us at 6 p.m. 5:33 p.m., it is now time for Voices. The segment is brought to you by Cooler Runnings Jamaican Restaurant, 1802 Nereid Avenue in the Bronx.
Something terrible happened here. And for decades, people didn't talk about it.
I was an adult before I ever heard about it. It was something that was hidden.
This entire historic community was obliterated.
Bodies dumped in rivers, bodies dumped in mass graves. It was an absolute massacre.
This story isn't one you'll find in most history books. And almost 100 years later, the facts of what exactly happened that day are still unraveling.
So we're driving in what's known as Black Wall Street. It's where one of the nation's worst episodes of racial violence took place.
In 1921, a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma called the Greenwood District was a bustling community of Black-owned businesses. Tulsa locals know that period of Greenwood's history as a kind of golden age.
If you can imagine just like an old-time downtown, things like movie theaters, pharmacies, hair salons, and so forth.
They called it Black Wall Street.
It was a mecca. It was a huge success.
But Black Wall Street was also an anomaly. It thrived at a time when the KKK was incredibly active in Oklahoma, and the nation had just been through the Red Summer of 1919, when white mobs murdered Black people in dozens of incidents across the U.S.
There needed to be a sort of match or an igniter tossed on these embers. And that trigger event was an incident that involved two teenagers, Dick Rowland, 19-year-old Black boy who shined shoes downtown, Sarah Page, 17-year-old white girl who ran an elevator in a downtown building called the Drexel Building. He went to the building, boarded the elevator, something happened, Sarah Page began to scream. They both ran out of the elevator.
Now, we don't know exactly what happened in this elevator, but a day later, Rowland was arrested and taken to the courthouse. The local newspaper ran an article claiming Rowland had assaulted Page. Even though Page refused to press charges, the article was essentially a call to action for whites.
A large white mob began to gather on the lawn of the courthouse. Dick Rowland was in jail on the top floor. A number of Black men, several dozen, marched down to the courthouse to protect him, some of them armed. There was a struggle between one of the Black men in the small group and one of the white men in the larger group, and things sort of went south from that point.
Hundreds of white people descended upon Black Wall Street, armed. Black residents withdrew behind the railroad tracks that marked off the Greenwood District. Some of them were armed and fought back, but they were outnumbered by the white mob, which shot their way through. The white mob murdered, they looted, and they set fire to Black Wall Street.
This was the strategy, if you will, of how to deal with these communities, with these successful Black communities. The effects were disastrous.
For 2 days, the Greenwood District burned. Martial law was declared, and the National Guard was brought in. By the time the massacre ended, Greenwood was in ruins. More than 1,200 homes were destroyed, and 35 blocks burned. The exact number of casualties is harder to pin down. Some initially only reported that white people died. Others reported somewhere between 30 and 100 mostly Black casualties. But estimates now put that number closer to 300. As for those that survived, thousands of them lived in tent cities in the months that followed. and were left to pick up the pieces of rubble they once called home. After the massacre, the cover-up started. Records went missing from city files, including the very article that started it all. It makes photos from this time all the more important as part of the historical record. But back in 1921, these images served a very different purpose.
So photo postcards like these were pretty widely distributed after the massacre. At the time, they were a part of white supremacist culture and kept as souvenirs of racially charged crimes.
Now they're preserved to make sure this part of Tulsa's history isn't forgotten, and they paint a clear picture of how much destruction there was that day. On the postcards, it's called the Tulsa Race Riot, a name that itself sort of erases what really happened.
By calling it a riot, it's a way of trying to rewrite the history, assuming that there were both sides at fault, and that was not the case. I call it a massacre, and I call it that because that's what it was.
Greenwood eventually rebuilt, but nearly a century later, there's a part of this story that still haunts the city. No one actually knows where the victims' bodies are.
We got to find our people. We got to put them at rest. If not, we'll continue to be haunted by what was done so many years ago.
Kavin Ross, a local writer, is one of many in Tulsa descended from people who lost everything in the massacre.
So in this cemetery, there are only 2 official victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre. Right. How many victims do you think there are?
After all these years, I think 300 is putting it mild.
In 1997, the city finally put together a commission to study the massacre and help piece together what happened in 1921. They compiled records and eyewitness accounts.
The bullets were just raining down over us.
They set our house on fire and went right straight to the curtains and set the curtains on fire.
These accounts are especially important now because none of these survivors are alive anymore. And they also provided new information. Some mentioned trucks, like this one, loaded with victims of the riot. One riot witness in particular came forth testifying that he saw bodies being dumped in Oaklawn Cemetery.
This is it. This is the area.
Using the survivor accounts, records, and eventually radar, the city was able to pinpoint 3 locations with anomalies in the soil. Only one step was left, to excavate. But it was something the city at the time wasn't up for doing. For many Tulsans, it was a part of history best forgotten and not worth investigating. In some ways, today, that sentiment remains.
Kind of waste of money.
Why do you think that?
It's over, it's done with.
But there are clear signs of a city that's ready to come to terms with a dark chapter in its history.
Honestly, that's a lot of missing people that probably had families.
We owe it to the people whose blood has actually fertilized the grounds of this place.
There was a tremendous amount of racism.
Injustice plus time does not equal justice.
Today, a new mayor is reopening the investigation.
I think a pretty basic compact that a city makes with its citizens is, if somebody murders you, we will do everything we can to find out what happened to you and give your family closure. And whether you were murdered yesterday or you were murdered 98 years ago.
The city will be looking into the 3 areas that the commission noted. That process of finding out what lies beneath Tulsa and DNA matching any remains with descendants could take years. The investigation is just one part of a bigger historical reckoning, but the reality is it can't undo the crimes or the cover-up of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre.
This story is the greatest conspiracy of silence that I've ever seen in history.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't already...
That's Voices, the intellectual voice that has everyone talking. And this feature was about the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. took place on May 31 and June 1 in 1921, when mobs of white residents attacked black residents and businesses of the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It has been called the single worst incident of racial violence in American history. As many of you know, there was an independent autopsy done by the now deceased in such a tragic way, George Floyd's family. They requested their own, coroner to do an autopsy, and we'll be talking about later this afternoon in our news segment, keeping you in the know with news happenings and facts. Welcome to Inside the Zone. My name is Denise Lady D. Gomez. On a Monday, you get news and music talk, right? That's what I do here. But before you go anywhere, stay with me. Don't you move a muscle. I will be right back.
When you are hungry, come to Cooler Runnings Restaurant. Located at 1802 Nerid Avenue, corner of Wickham Avenue in the Bronx, we specialize in the best Jamaican and American cuisine, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We are open 24 hours, 7 days a week. We offer free in-house delivery, minimum $20 purchase, and we also have Uber Eats. We do barbecue Thursdays, fish fry Fridays, and seafood Saturdays. For more information, give us a call for our address and menu, 718-324-7484. Once again, that's 718-324-7484. Cooler Runnings Restaurant, simply the best Jamaican food.
Western Union is here for you. Available 24/7 every day. The Western Union app and website gives you the option of sending money from the comfort of your home straight to your loved ones. With Western Union, you can send money to banks in Jamaica, including Scotiabank, National Commercial Bank, First Global Bank, and more. Tell your receiver in Jamaica to register their bank account at the nearest Western Union location and receive funds directly into their bank accounts. Get fast and convenient service when you download the Western Union mobile app or go online at wu.com. For more information, visit wu.com or call 718-801-9370. That's 718-801-9370. Services may be provided by Western Union Financial Services Incorporated, NMLS number 906983, and or Western Union International Services LLC, NLMS number 906985, which are licensed as money transmitters by the New York State Department of Financial Services. See terms and conditions for details.
Welcome back to Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez on Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7, 88.9. Our telephone number is 914-600-4228. That's 914-600-4228. Hope you're having a good afternoon so far with me. I've been here with you since 5 o'clock, and I will be here with you until 7 o'clock this evening. Reminding you at 6 o'clock, we'll be getting into our news discussion. Our main topic for the afternoon, the talk. With the spate of police-involved shootings of our black men in the United States, how do we have the conversation with our children? What are we telling our children? How are we going to be navigating all that they're seeing going on their television sets and reading in the newspapers and so on, right? Or in their gadgets, popping up news here, there, and everywhere. How are we going to be having this conversation? How are we trying to guard them, protect them, guide them? How are we doing that? A Jamaica ting, Jamaican folk tales, and Nancy stories. Want to take you to my Jamaica ting right now. And as always, on a Monday, this is how I start the segment off.
Special people, a place where champions grow, a magical vibe, so much more than you will ever know. You can't ignore the music, reggae so profound, and when it comes to the track, you know that Jamaica won't back down. On top of the world, we're more than just an island in the sun, a great nation. Bob Marley say, welcome. Experience the culture, we do it like
Welcome to Jamaica on Inside the Zone. Did I tell you that Inside the Zone is a large platform? It takes in Jamaica and the world. I'm Jamaican, from Jamaica. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to you and to all my Caribbean nationals. Good afternoon. And worldwide, I want to say hi to you. 5:48 p.m., a Jamaica ting. Now, my Jamaica is not spelled J-A, it's spelled J-U. A Jamaica ting. That's what's going on here. Jamaican folk tales, Anansi stories. You know of Anansi. A lot of people know him very well. And they can, tell you stories, relate stories almost verbatim. You know, because they're so involved in it. They just can't help themselves, kind of thing. So I want to say hi to you. Anansi and Snake, that's my feature this afternoon, because, I mix it up a little bit, a little of this, a dash of that, like when you're cooking, and you dash your pepper, your salt, and your black pepper, and your dash, all right. So I'm dashing you some Anansi and Snake story this afternoon. Tiger was the undisputed king of the forest. Tiger lilies were named after him. Tiger moths were named after him, and the stories of the forest were called tiger stories. Anansi was nobody in the forest hierarchy. When the animals gathered together, they would ask idle questions like, who is the strongest animal? Or who is the bravest? Altogether, they would chorus, Tiger! And just to poke fun, they would say, who is the weakest? Like a church choir, they would all sing out, Anansi. Anansi got sick and tired of it all. One day he met Tiger face to face in the forest. Anansi bowed low to Tiger, but Tiger did not acknowledge Anansi in the least. He had no time to waste on such an insignificant speck. Tiger, said Anansi, you have it all. Can't you just ease me up and let me have one thing named after me? Tiger wanted to ignore Anansi, but his curiosity got the better of him. And just what is it you want to bear your name, Anansi? The stories, replied Anansi. I want them to be called Anansi stories. Now, Tiger loved those stories and did not intend to give them up to this crawling nobody. Still, even the undisputed king of the forest needed a laugh sometimes. So he said to Anansi, if you can do one small thing for me, I will let you call the stories Anansi stories or any other names you like. Anansi didn't like the sound of this. What one thing would that be, Tiger? He asked cautiously. Nothing too hard. Just capture Snake for me by the end of the week, and all the stories will be known as Anansi stories forevermore. Good thing Anansi had 8 legs to stand on, because at least 4 of them buckled the same time. This snake was not your flimsy garden variety snake. Snake of the jungle was big, very big, and Anansi was small, very small. But Anansi could think big, so he said, I'll do it. At that, there was a huge burst of laughter from all the other animals who had been eavesdropping on the conversation. They went home, tears of amusement rolling down their faces. Anansi went home very worried, but thinking. This was on Monday. Next day, Anansi went on the trail he knew Snake traveled on every day. He made a large noose out of a strong vine and placed some of Snake's favorite berries inside it. He hid in the bushes, holding the other end of the vine. Snake came slithering along the path. He spied the berries and his mouth watered, but he also spied the noose. He laid the weight of his body on the vine, then reached in and ate the berries quickly. Anansi tried and tried, but he could not pull the vine to close the noose. Snake's body was too heavy. Next day, Anansi went a little further down. Snake's favorite trail and dug up a pit in the ground. He placed a luscious hand of ripe bananas in it, then smeared the sides of the pit with grease so that Snake would slip in when he tried to get the bananas. Snake came along the path. He spied the bananas and his mouth watered. But he also spied the grease. So he wrapped his tail around a thick tree trunk, then reached into the hole with his head and ate the bananas. If he had lips, he would have licked them. He raised his head out of the pit, unwrapped his tail, and slithered away. Next day, Anansi made a quick square trap out of sticks with spaces on the 3 sides and a door on the other. He put some mangoes inside. Soon a piglet came along and went straight for the mangoes. He didn't notice when Anansi shut. I do apologize for the pause. He didn't notice when Anansi shut the door behind him. Anansi figured that Snake could get inside the trap through the spaces, but that he would be too fat to get out after he had eaten the piglet. Snake came along and saw the piglet. The creature was so terrified when he saw Snake that he went berserk, squealing at the top of his lungs and smashing the trap into pieces. The piglet fled into the bushes, and Snake's mouth did not even get the chance to water. Anansi muttered to himself, "Fool, fool, good-for-nothing pig." Next day, it was Friday, the end of the week, and Anansi was still snakeless. He went directly to Snake's house and sat outside, looking dejected. Snake came out and looked at Anansi in surprise. "But you Brighty, all week long you're trying to catch me, and now you're sitting here barefaced in me yard." Anansi looked at Snake and sighed. "Yes, it's true. But I was trying to catch you for a worthy cause. Now the other animals will continue to talk behind your back." What you talking about, Anansi? What they saying about me?" Anansi said, "Well, I really shouldn't be telling you. But they saying that you believe you are the longest thing around, and that you think you are God's gift to longness, when even the shortest bamboo around here is no longer than you." Snake was outraged. "Measure me, Anansi, measure me. Cut down the longest bamboo you can find and let me shut up those backbiters." Anansi ran and cut down the longest bamboo. He rested it on the ground, and Snake stretched out beside it. "Call them, Anansi. Let them see that nothing around here can test me." Anansi scratched his chin. "Well, Snake, there's a problem. You look longer than the bamboo. How do I know that when I go up by your head, you're not crawling up to look longer, and when I go down by your tail, you're not shifting down on that end? Tie me tail then, Anansi, if you don't believe me." By this time, curious animals were gathering around to watch. Anansi tied Snake's tail tightly to the bamboo with some vines. Then he said to Snake, "Stretch, Snake, stretch. You're almost there. Stretch till your eyes shut and you can't stretch no more." Anansi had never seen a snake sweat. Snake stretched till his eyes were squeezed shut. And in a flash, Anansi tied his head to the pole, then his middle. The animals who had been watching were silent. There was no laughing at Anansi this time. He had said he would capture Snake, and he did. And from that day to this, the stories have been called Anansi stories. Jack Mandora, me not choose none. Hope you enjoyed my Jamaica ting this afternoon here inside the zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez. And I want to let you know that in Jamaica ting, you can also send me your stories of what you know that makes Jamaica nice, just for you.
It's a magical vibe, so much more than you will ever know. You can't ignore the music. Reggae is so profound, and when it comes to the track, you know that Jamaica won't back down. On top of the world, we're more than just an island in the sun.
That was a Nancy and Snake in the segment A Jamaica Ting, brought to you by Corey's Eats, 3762 Boston Road in the Bronx. We deliver, yes they do, powered by Uber Eats. Open Monday to Thursday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. 3762 Boston Road, Bronx, New York. Telephone 347-947-9200. 347-947-9200. 2 minutes to 6 o'clock. Want to say good afternoon to those of you who are tuning in for the very first time. It's your first time and you're like, wow, I'm enjoying the show, Lady D. Thank you. Those of you who are on the YouTube channel, want to say good afternoon. Those of you who are on Linkage Radio 104.5, 101.7, and 88.9. Welcome to you. It's a good day. It's called Monday. At 6 p.m., we'll be having the discussion tagged The Talk. The Talk. Have you been having a talk? With the spate of police-involved shootings of our black men in the U.S., how do we have the conversation with our children? Those of you who have children and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to talk to these children now about what's going on with all this shooting and the law enforcement officers, the people who should be protecting us? Or are you screaming at the TV and just, beside yourself and carrying on? I really don't know. But I will give you the opportunity to share your thoughts on that in our upcoming segment, keeping you in the know with news, happenings, and facts. My name is Denise Lady D. Gomez. I take a quick commercial break. I'll be right back.
Are hungry? Come to Kula Runnings Restaurant, located at 1802 Near the
All right, stay with me. I will be right back.
Western Union is here for you. Available 24/7 every day. The Western Union app and website gives you the option of sending money from the comfort of your home straight to your loved ones. With Western Union, you can send money to banks in Jamaica, including Scotiabank, National Commercial Bank, First Global Bank, and more. Tell your receiver in Jamaica to register their bank account at the nearest Western Union location and receive funds directly into their bank accounts. Get fast and convenient service when you download the Western Union mobile app or go online at wu.com. For more information, visit wu.com or call 718-801-9370. That's 718-801-9370. Services may be provided by Western Union Financial Services Incorporated, NMLS number 906983, and or Western Union International Services LLC, NLMS number 906985, which are licensed as money transmitters by the New York State Department of Financial Services. See terms and conditions for details.
When you are hungry, come to Kula Runnings Restaurant, located at 1802 Nerid Avenue, corner of Wickham Avenue in the Bronx. We specialize in the best Jamaican and American cuisine, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We are open 24 hours, 7 days a week. We offer free in-house delivery, minimum $20 purchase, and we also have Uber Eats. We do barbecue Thursdays, fish fry Fridays, and seafood Saturdays. For more information, give us a call for our address and menu, 718-324-7484. Once again, that's 718-324-7484. Kula Runnings Restaurant, simply the best Jamaican food.
I'd like to welcome you back this afternoon to the Monday Drive, keeping you in the know in the city you walk, drive, and reside. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day today. My name is Denise Lady D. Gomez, and the Monday Drive, we are here on a Monday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and it's music, news, information. This is the place where you want to be. No other place, because you get it all right here on a Monday. Share the link with someone from your YouTube channel inside of the zone and have them tune in this afternoon and be a part of our discussion that's coming up in seconds. I do believe I have my co-host waiting patiently on the line. I believe my co-host is waiting patiently on the telephone line. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Lady B. How are you?
It's a good day, Chris Welby.
It is always a good day to be alive, and especially on a Monday. I feel especially blessed on a Monday when I get to talk to you, you know?
Of course, I feel the sentiments are returned.
I tell you know, I was thinking about the show today, and I said, I think that we complement each other very well. You know, you are the calm, collective, cool one, you know, and I am the one who just go off the rail whenever. and you're there to hold me back and say, no, Chris, come on now.
Yeah.
I think we complement each other very well.
Absolutely. Imagine if we were the same personality.
Oh boy, I tell you. So it's good. It's good to be here.
It's good. I hope you had a good weekend.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Nice.
We're getting back into the thick of things. Summer is in the air, and we're getting good weather. So
that's true. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Keeping You in the Know with News, Happenings, and Facts, brought to you by Cooler Runnings Jamaican Restaurants, Corey's Eats, and Western Union. It's a good day, 4 minutes after 6 o'clock. And as always, this is how we start our discussion segment for Keeping You in the Know. Interestingly, Chris, you may ask your audience to log on to the YouTube channel because I'm not streaming via Facebook today.
Okay.
Okay. And FYI, last night I prepped my script for today's show, and in the promo, I sent it out in WhatsApp, and then I proceeded to post it on Facebook. And they told me they couldn't post it because of the verbiage I had there. Yeah. So, you know, I didn't even bother touch it. So I said I wouldn't even go to Facebook today because clearly with all the discussions that are going on, you know, they are tracking and stuff.
Yes.
So I'm not even going over there today. So that's what I observed. So just a bit of, you know, so I said, let me not pull up a thing on Facebook. Let me keep it on the YouTube channel here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, last Thursday we had a very insightful and spirited conversation. Lord, centered around, you know, the death of George Floyd, and we decided to continue with it today. And can you believe today they unfolded that he, you know, died of what is the word?
Asphyxia.
Yes, for a moment the word wouldn't come. Right. And so, you know, a lot to talk about. But before we start the segment, I would just like to air this clip that I saw Governor Cuomo. Yes, that's it. Yes, this clip I saw.
In Minneapolis did a good job last night. I think they got caught initially, which is understandable. But I think he did a good job. The many cities use a curfew. Again, it's people will argue both ways. But my basic point is, last night was bad, right? the criminality, the looting was the most egregious. The people exploiting the circumstance. There is an anger, because I hear about it, from people who say, we saw the police officer on tape in Minneapolis. We have police officers in New York City who didn't do anything like what we've seen other police officers do, but it's seriously questionable behavior. The video of the car driving into the crowd, the video of the pepper spray after removing the mask, the woman getting thrown, that is apparently egregious conduct. And nothing has been done. Now, I feel comfortable saying the Attorney General is looking at it and we'll get a report. And it's only 30 days, this is not kick the can. And if that report says, whatever that report says, I will do, right? But in the interim, nothing has been done. I get that too. And I'm going to speak to the mayor about that. The National Guard we have on standby. They are trained to do this. But I don't know that it's a person power issue in New York City. In Minneapolis, it was a person power. They just don't have a police force large enough to handle it. I don't know that that is the situation. I don't know that the NYPD isn't big enough. I don't think that's the problem.
But are you inclined to ask for or strongly suggest a curfew? Or
look, I could impose a curfew. Yeah, legally I can impose a curfew.
Alrighty, so that was, every morning the governor has, his press briefings and so on. And he was addressing the curfew situation and all of that. Now, last Thursday we delved into some of the causes, some of the things that could have happened as a result of George Floyd's death. Chris Wilby and I, we spoke and we decided to have a conversation today about how do we address this with our children. People are watching their television sets, they are reading the news, they are pulling up electronic data, and usually when you find something of this magnitude, all kinds of videos and articles are just popping up that you never ever heard of. You wonder, where were these things the whole time? But usually people start to research, to go as far back as they can to determine when did this all begin. And so we're here this afternoon to ask the question, with the spate of the police killings of our black men here in the United States, how are you having the conversation with your children? That's the question we ask. Chris? Chris Welby?
I'm here. I'm sorry. I put the phone on mute and didn't realize that I didn't take it off. All right. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Lady D, and we appreciate the feedback that we got last week. It shows that people are listening, and we want to bring the conversation a little bit further than just to where it's at right now. What can be done, what needs to be done, what are we doing? Are we contributing to the anger that's out there? Are we talking to our children? And incidentally, I had a conversation today with a police officer. It was a frank conversation. A white police officer.
Okay.
Very frank. As a matter of fact, he approached me and he said to me, Chris, this is somebody who I am associated with, I know him personally before he went into the into the force,
Okay.
into the police, whatever they call it here. But we happened to be in the same place today, and he approached me and he said to me, Chris, you know me. You know I am not racist, right? And I laughed, and I said, where's this coming from? I said, I know that. He said to me, you know that I'm a straight up guy, and I tell him like it is and whatnot. I said, he said, let me tell you this. On behalf of all of us, I apologize to you. He said, on behalf of all police officers and all of us, I don't know when he said us if he meant white people, but I didn't press him. He said, I apologize. I see what's happening. It's not right. I apologize. And we went into, a discussion about what happened and what needs to take place. So I said that to say this. Not every police officer is a terrible person or a terrible police officer. I happen to live in a state, in a jurisdiction where I have no problem with my police officers that I come in contact with, that I encounter on a daily basis if I ever have to. I have no problem. I always say this. They treat you with respect. I, in turn, show them the respect or vice versa. And it goes to a wider conversation that we probably need to have. Why in some jurisdiction the police are always butting heads with the citizens? It's a question that we need to ask.
I'm sorry, continue, Chris. I'm just checking a technical issue here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a question that we need to ask ourselves. And if we are doing everything in our power, and I don't know, I don't have the answer. I myself have been checking, and I'm like, all right. This is one of the things I said to my friend today when we were talking. I said, you are a police officer. You come across people every day. What is it that you face on a daily basis? His problem is that some of the police officers, they take things personally. When they come across somebody who, quote unquote, disrespect them, they have to teach them a lesson. And he was like, look, that is not their job. Their job is to uphold the law. And even if the person is disrespecting them, as long as the person is not breaking the law, they shouldn't try to escalate it. And also, I would like us, everybody who is listening, to have a little bit of empathy. Put yourselves in other people's shoes. As I am here on Cape Cod, where we have a great police force, we have a lot of community policing, where the police interact with the community, and we don't have murders, and we don't have crime skyrocketing, and we don't have police, throwing down people on the ground. We just don't have that here. So I can't complain about my police officers here. But then there are other jurisdictions where it happens. What do we need to do? Can we figure out? Because I would love to find out what is causing that anger, for the citizens in that jurisdiction, the police officers. Why is it that the police officers don't trust these people? Why is it that these people don't trust the police officers? What is causing that? I don't know the answer to that, really. So it's something that we have to put ourselves into other people's shoes, as I say, and try to figure out what is happening with these police force. Because I have never been white. I don't know what a white person feels. I don't know what is in their minds. But at the same time, you have a lot of white people who empathize with black people, just like this police officer. I said to him today, hey, look, I have never been a police officer. So I don't know what you guys have to face on a daily basis, but I see things on television, I see things on social media, and we react to what we see.
Yes.
So sometimes we have to kind of try to figure out, other situations apart from our own, because a white person may say, this is not racism or that is not racism. Who are you to tell me what is racism? You were born white, you don't know what racism is. So if a black person is telling you that they face racism, you cannot tell them that they have not faced it.
That is absolutely true. And I thank you for that. We are seeing the reactions of people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're hearing voices of people who, black, white, every color, just saying he should not have died this way. It was unnecessary. They are pressing and pressing. People have been laying prostrate. I was looking yesterday, I'm like, isn't the ground hot? People were just laying just about everywhere they could in support. Now today his brother came out and in a very calm manner, and these are cultured people, in a very calm manner he asked them to stop. He says this is not what we want. And you could see he was so broken. And this was staged right at this area where his brother had breathed his last breath. So that was even more emotional. But he pleaded and asked them not to. Now, while you had that conversation with that police officer, and we are seeing people who are trying to come to some understanding as to when did this fall, where does the chip fall, right? Where are we going? When it was Martin Luther time, when it was Malcolm X, and all those civil rights people, is the same thing as we were discussing on Thursday, that they experienced. Martin never said go out with no baton and whip nobody. He just said march. And yet they were still attacked. Decades later, here we are. Things are more publicized because the advancement in technology, you get information at the touch of a button. And your children, as young as they are, they start to understand from you reach, say 1, you start knowing the difference between, being nice and being angry, or being calm and being angry. So they understand that. So if from a young age, leading up into young adulthood, and they're seeing all that is being meted out since they are born up to now, and they are also hearing the reaction of their family members, whether it's in their physical space, in their homes, or family members when they meet by phone, in person, or they're hearing the voices of people in their community who are outraged and saying, police for dead, and all those things. what impression is it being created on their minds? How are they now processing this? And so that is why sometimes when parents or people in the community with that position of influence who will say to young people, be careful when you're out on the street. Watch what you do. Watch the profile that you are projecting. You know, it's because they know that there is a recurring decimal. There is a cycle that sends a message to police officers a lot of times, whether it's in how you verbalize or just your manner, it sends a message. Does it mean that the message you're sending, it should be reciprocated, that when I call you up to me and say, pull up your pants, or something, some kind of reprimand, how does my child respond to that? Parents are now beginning to be a little more conscious, because some parents will blatantly tell them, pick me, no afraid of no police, and so on. And then there are others, Chris, who are saying, this is what you need to do. So while we are talking among ourselves, which is natural, there's also the mind that is being molded and more pliable now to say, well, my father and mother is so them say, and you know, when them say police, them say see old police boy, and all kinds of things that they hear. So in turn, they will quite possibly use the same kind of language. So that's one scenario. May I just share, and then we can open the lines for conversation. May I share something that one of my pastors, he's an administrative pastor at my church, and I'll share this with you. Some persons might say that's all good and well, others might say valid point. Listen to this. He says, Lord, have mercy on my son Abdul Johnson, my grandsons, and he names them. Lord, thank you for my mother, who when I arrived in the United States in 1971, sat me down and instructed me not to show any willingness to resist a police officer and to address them as sir when they approach me. Thank you, Lord, for her wise counsel. I recall in 1974, while stationed in Big Springs, Texas, with the United States Air Force, I was returning to base after vacation. I was at the Dallas-Fort Worth toll booth and pulled over by a truck stop to rest. I recall a state trooper approaching my car and sticking his rifle on the temple of my ear. I recalled my mother's instruction, and when he said, "Boy, what are you doing here?" my response was, "Sir, I am in the United States Air Force and am returning to my base in Big Springs. Can I show you my military ID to verify my statement, sir?" I carefully took it out. He looked at it and told me to be careful, you hear? I said, "Yes, sir." The instructions my mother gave me I passed on to my son, and he says it has served him well. Thank you, Lord, that I have perspective. I know what it is to live in a nation where I feel safe for the most part when encountered by law enforcement. I know what it is to live in the USA with concern that my life may be in danger if I am approached by a law enforcement officer. I pray that you will help us survive the scourge of racism in Jesus' name. Amen. So that was his take. If you have a comment, I'm sure you do, you can call us. How are we trying to talk to our children about racism? How are we talking to our children about how they respond to a law enforcement officer? What is the language we are using? How is it impacting our families? Because no matter what we think, you know, there is something there when we don't do what's right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lady D.
Good afternoon, Glovia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Willoughby. Hi, Gloria. My take on this, thanks for the pastor's, what he said, and I feel the same way. I think some of those people who join the police force going there with an intention. When one of the policemen, anything happened to them, or I see them running over a fence or anything like that, I feel the same way like I would feel for my son. But some of them going with an intention. And when one person do one thing that is bad, they wait until that wears off a little, and then another one come up with something, and it really hurts. There are many, plenty good policemen. And as I said, when anything happened to one of them, I feel it as though I would feel it from my child. But this last thing, this recurring thing, I said, Lord, I felt like something jumped in my stomach for my grandson and my son, this last incident, because each time something wears off, one of those actors that not so good come up with something in this way again to make you want to demonstrate a curse if you're cursing or whatever. And it is very bad. We thank God for the good policemen and we applaud them. I feel like anything happened to one of them is my son's. But this thing keep occurring to us, and it doesn't feel good, especially this last time, because when one wear off last year, something is coming up this year, and it keep occurring. After it dies down a little, something else, and it's just black people it's happening to, and it really hurts.
Yes, we agree. Thank you.
Thank you,
Gloria.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Gloria. Well said.
914-600-4228. 914-600-4228. If you have a comment that you'd like to share, call us 914-600-4228. Chris. You know, it was yesterday you and I were talking, right?
Yes.
And I had said to you that of all the years I've lived here, my very first encounter with racism was because I attended a function. I wore a very classy looking coat, and I handed in my coat at the end of the function. I went to pick it up, and the coat attendant, a senior white woman, refused to hand my coat over to me, right? So that was my first encounter. But because I know that it's my coat, and I was invited there by my friend to a function that she was being awarded, I decided not to make a big brawl out of it, because that would have just put a damper on the function.
Yes.
So I omitted to do all of that. But there are people who, it is so ingrained in us that Caucasian people don't like black people. So when someone approaches you, that's the first trigger you get. But how do we handle it? My concern, and yours, is the fact that we have our young children coming up. What's your take?
You know, before I go into my take on that, I listened this morning to Morning Joe, and one of his guests said something that was profound. He said, most black people across America, they always have to have the talk with their black children. Black parents always have to be talking to their black children. He said that him, as a white man, does not have to have that talk with his white son. He said that he's never afraid of his son going out and not coming back home. That has never crossed his mind as a white person in America. But he knows that for a black person, you have to constantly have the talk, especially when your children reach 15 years old, 16 years old, and now they're thinking about driving, getting their driver's license. Every black person, every black parents, they shudder, especially if you have a black son. You shudder to think of the confrontation that your black child is going to have with the police. And so you instruct your son. Most black parents will instruct your children, when you come across the police officer, be respectful. When they pull up behind you, put your hands where you can see them. Make sure you hold the steering with your hands. Don't be fidgeting around in your car for anything. Don't, just be respectful and try to carry yourself in a certain manner. When they come up to the car, you say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That is the talk that black people on a whole have to have with your children. He, as a white man, does not have to have that same talk with his child or his children, because he is never afraid that even if they come across a police officer, that they are going to end up dead. And so while we as black people probably need to constantly have that talk, and while your reverend had that talk with his parents or I don't remember if it's grandparents or whatever, they had the talk, and it has served him well. It is still today in 2020 a double standard in America, where the onus is on black people to be constantly having that talk with your children in order to survive.
Keep going, Chris. I'll be right with you.
Okay. Yes. I thought I got knocked off. Yeah. So that's the scenario that we face on a daily basis. I have a black son living in America. I have black daughters living in America. And you worry every time they leave out of your sight. You worry every time they have to travel. You worry that they're going to come across some situation that is going to have them. So you have to constantly be telling them, look, just try and get out of the situation alive. Even though what they may be saying to the police officer is not illegal, what they may be doing is not illegal. The fact is that when you are black, there's a certain code of conduct that you have to live by. And if you don't, it may just cost you your life. And that is the scenario that we're still facing today in 2020. And that is just a very, very sad situation. So I don't know how we are going to get past this, because with this situation boiling up, and everybody is reacting. I am hoping that this is the straw that finally breaks the camel's back.
Yes.
I'm really hoping.
Yeah, yeah.
But is it really? I mean, we've seen a lot of different scenarios where we thought, okay, this may be it. Is this the moment? And we keep moving from one thing, and then something else comes along and knock this right off the front burner, and something else takes over, and we forget, give it a month,
Yes,
give it 3 weeks,
and then
we forget about all of the riots and all of the violence and all of we forget all of that, and we move on to something else, another story.
It reminds
and we
me.
forget about it.
Yeah, it comes in like a 9-day wonder. But there's an article which says here that George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, what do we tell our children, right? And that's just a few. But the writer says that should we tell the children? How? Those are among the many questions parents are asking after the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. Many white parents wonder whether to talk with their kids at all. White parents of color swallow their grief and fear to have the talk once again. So he says, those are among the many questions parents are asking, right? These deaths are part of a more complex story. One, some parents have been telling for generations, and others have felt they've had the luxury to ignore. Experts in child psychology and race-based stress say these conversations are essential for all parents to have, and they underscore that there are developmentally appropriate ways to talk to children of all ages about racism and police brutality. I know that as a Jamaican from the island of Jamaica, residing in a community predominantly West Indian, but particularly Jamaican, right? And you take your culture with you. If you decide to leave it at the airport, then, that's on you. But many people take their culture with them. And even if they have children that are born here, they still instill a lot of their culture, music, food, discipline, you name it. And we are pretty, outspoken people, aggressive people. And we don't like when anybody in our culture is affected by something, especially if it impacts us negatively. So now that we are here and we are seeing these kinds of murders meted out to our fellow blacks, we are taking on the same stance in our community. It must stop. Because especially families that have young black children. And sometimes we see our children, building relationships with children who are coming from different backgrounds. Some are a little more crass than others. And that has a lot to do with how they are raised and the friends they meet, how they're socializing. And so when your child starts to meet new people and forming their own opinions and demonstrating a kind of aggression, even if you're not coming out and say it, you're seeing it in very subtle ways. Either how they respond to you, how they respond to their siblings, their peers, but you see it and you are saying to yourself, where did that come from? And you might have a face-off with them, right? Because at this point it becomes a face-off because you've allowed it to develop to the point where it is that now you can hardly talk to them. So when they get out into the world, Chris, and start to interrelate and intermingle, That barrier that they were not taught that you shouldn't cross as far as possible, right? Because some people will tell you they don't trouble people, but if you step on them, come into their space, they react. But there are some children who are not taught boundaries. So even when they're out there in the world, they will not know the do's and don'ts because you never teach them. The ones who were taught, if they allow themselves to be misled, usually when you see children are being carted off in droves because they pick them up at nights or at corners or so on, in that group is always one or two who, when their parents hear, they are in total shock because they wonder, how come you over there so, and that's not what I taught you. Mm-hmm. So here are murders happening now where people don't do anything. People, it is assumed that someone is pulling a rifle out of their pockets. You know, somebody pull out a lighter to light it, and the police officer believes that he has pulled out a rifle and fire up several shots. Or as you were saying, here is a typical example. One is about to be reprimanded, shackled. They say, put your hand on your head top. He obeys. And even in that, he's punched in the face, and one sails across and literally kick him down. Mm-hmm. Right? So the variables in this, it is so stark and caustic. It causes you to cringe. Because if parents take the position that I will teach you the principles, I will teach you what you need to know, your learning tools, so that when you go out there and face it, you know how to handle yourself. But then there is the flip side. What happens to the child or an adult who says, fine, you want me to put my hand behind me? I put my hand behind me. And then you still proceed to take it further rather than leading him into your patrol car and taking him off. You still end up putting him on the floor, on his stomach, with the assistance of your other fellow police officers, restraining one man who by this time can't do nothing. Mm-hmm. Because him hand already behind him and him on his stomach. What him going to do? Mm-hmm. So, you know, the more we talk about it, the more we realize that there is that underlying anger.
Something
yes.
grotesque.
Yes, man.
There was something grotesque about this scene that jolted everybody across America. And I said to somebody today while talking about it, if you can't see something wrong with this picture, something is wrong with you. And the only person or persons who have no problem with what they saw in that picture are those who are racist to the bone and they just cannot be saved.
Yes.
You know? Mm-hmm. But apart from that group of people, most people across the world saw that video and it jolted something inside. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, and as I was saying to you yesterday, Lady D, even today, even as I was talking to the police officer today, I said, what is the rationale? What is the story that is coming up? He said, I don't know, and there shouldn't be any. Because even now, there is not a storyline that they can say. Normally they would say, he wasn't complying. and we had to use the necessary force
right,
to restrain him. No, not even that defense they do not have. He was already in handcuffs. He was already under control. Why do you see the need? They got training in police academy, Lady B, that when you apply pressure to somebody's back, once you have them in a handcuff and they're on their stomach, you should not keep them there for any prolonged period of time.
Yes.
So any video that you see a police officer doing this and keeping a person in that position for a prolonged period of time,
that's unlawful.
it means that they are going against their training and they are doing it willfully to torture the person because they know from their own training that it is a very dangerous position, even without applying any additional pressure. Just by the fact that you have your handcuff, you have your handcuff behind you, and you're laying on your stomach, it is very difficult for you to breathe, and you can suffocate in that position.
Yes, let's take a call.
Think about it. You know,
Hold your thought,
have your
Chris.
handcuff.
Hold your thought 1 second. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, Lady D. Good afternoon, Chris, and to everyone who is listening. Yes, I share your pain, Chris. I am still just so aggravated. But, you know, when we spoke last week, I did mention that the officer who was kneeling on Floyd's back, between him and the one laying on his neck, those are the two that took Floyd's life, because when we do CPR, we know how important chest compression is. So the one that was kneeling on his back, he was compressing his chest, there's no way he could breathe. And the one that was leaning on his neck, you know, affected his airway. Moreover, he did something to his carotid artery. So what upset me, I hope I can get this out of my memory bank, is the fact that when the so-called paramedics, I don't think they were even paramedics, when they picked up his motionless and his lifeless body, no one checked for a pulse or anything, and they just tossed him on the gurney like a sack of potato. They did not care. And so this is what leaves in our memory bank. Am I really seeing this in the 21st century? So I do not condone riot and violence, but when people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, this has been years and years and years of feelings, of emotion spilled over. Now, you know there are people who are actually marching for the right reasons, but we know the rioters, okay? They're not in this for the right reasons. So it has cut to my chase to the bone, and I don't know when I'll be able to get this out of my memory back. But sure enough, the coroner who performed that autopsy, he needs to be put in jail for lying. I'm so glad the family, they obtained a second coroner, a professional whose findings concluded what we were talking about last week, that he died from asphyxiation. They cut off his airway. How could the whole world is watching? We are upset. And they want to incite another riot when they come to talk about that he did not die from asphyxiation.
Issue.
Oh, yeah, well, you see, they have to try to cover their tracks because now, you know, everything is out in the open. Even the perpetrator, his wife, is leaving him. She's divorcing him because she's so overwhelmed by what she has seen on the video. And her brother is the Chinese guy who was standing there with his hands in his pocket.
Yes.
Okay? But
she needs to divorce her brother too.
She's divorcing him. No, she filed for divorce. She's divorcing him.
No, I think she needs to divorce her brother too.
Chris, you're silly.
Okay. But you know,
cut all ties with him.
Yes, you're silly.
Oh yeah.
Of course, but you know, Chauvin, I think it goes even deeper. Chauvin knows that guy Floyd. Chauvin knows him, and it seems as if Floyd was having a relationship with a white woman.
Well, there's a photograph that, you know, these things, there's a photograph that I saw. He had about maybe 5 or 6 white women, 3 on either side.
He's his girlfriend is a white woman.
Yes.
According to a report. His girlfriend is a white woman.
It's a possibility that Chauvin despised him as a black man with a white woman, and that's why they need to go investigate and dig deep. It goes way beyond you and I. But hopefully they will come up with the truth.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
The whole world now is watching. And as we can see, our so-called, you know what, he hiding in the bunker now. We don't know what's going to happen because they went to the Black House.
Yeah.
They went to the Black House.
Okay.
All right. So,
yes. Thank you, Pat.
So thank you, Lady D, and thank you for Chris for having us on so we can express our thoughts, because this is really, it cuts real deep to the bone, you know. We just, I don't care how much of our heart are to evoke some kind of emotion where this is concerned, because I have black sons, I have black nephews, I have black brothers, I have friends who have black children, and so it cuts really, really, real deep for me, you know. Well, I have to pray a little harder now, you know, for God to protect our black men. They are an endangered species. We have prayed, we have marched, we have talked, we have forgiven, but my God, this has gone way out of proportion. So we just have to, I don't know where to go from here. All I can do is pray, but like I said, we have been praying. I mean, it's not like God is not hearing our prayers, but as we can see, we're living in a world where spiritual wickedness is in high places. So this is not the will of God. I just want people to know this. This is not the will of God. So we just have to pray and ask God to help us to remove whatever animosity and resentment that we may have, because it's not easy. Seeing is believing, so we are reacting.
Thank you, Pat.
So every action, there must be a reaction. So you have a good evening, Lady D and Chris.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Aldith is on, and she's asking, at what age should this talk begin, meaning with our children? And that's a good question. I mean, I would think that this talk should begin at the age of, say, 8, 9. A child at 8 years old understands what is going on. Not too young. That's my take.
I think that it's, for me personally, I think that it's an individual choice. You know, whenever a person feels comfortable having that talk with their children, you know, so I think it would vary from family to family. Yeah, that's just my personal opinion on it, you know, because I don't think that there is like really a written rule as to when you should really have the talk. You know, the fact is that you should have it at some point, you know, at a point when you believe that it will be effective. You know, so I think it varies from family to family. You know, and we're not really psychologists here, so we can't really speak to people, you know, as to how and when and where, you know. We're just having a discussion and sharing our thoughts with people, and, you know, we appreciate every input, because we are all in this thing together.
Of course.
And none of us have the solution. You know, it's like we're just trying to figure it out as we go go along, and things are just popping up, and we are reacting to it, and we are hoping that with the development of this particular incident, the authorities will come together. We've been talking for so long about this brutality of police officers, and the thing about it is, for years, the black man has been saying that these things are going on.
Yes.
And our voices have been silent because people just, especially white people, they just could not believe that these things are really going on. Mm-hmm. They believe, most of them, believe the police officers. They give the police officers the benefit of the doubt because these are trained people. They are trained to protect and serve. So they give them the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. But with the advent of cell phones and social media, it is now amplifying. So this is not something new. This has been going on for years.
This one, I tell you though.
Yes. So, and with each one, it is getting more and more blatant because these police officers, it's like they can't control their impulses. Even when they are aware that you are filming them, they act as if they don't care.
Because even this snapshot of the officer kneeling in his neck, I mean, the man has his hand in his pocket, like he's profiling.
He did not care, Lady B. He just did not care. That was the body language. He was looking up, as if, so what? You can video me as much as you want, so what? I'm just going to kneel here. And there were times when he was looking down at the suspect, quote unquote, the gentleman. He was looking down at him. So there is no way he did not know that this man was struggling to breathe. He knew it. He saw it. It wasn't a case where he was wrestling with him so it got out of control. He was sitting there comfortably, kneeling with his hands in his pocket, looking down, looking up, applying more pressure each time, over and over again, without any care in the world. And even when the man was breathing his last breath, and he heard it, he knew he was dying, he did not do anything at all
7 o'clock.
to stop it.
7 o'clock, we gotta go.
All right, Lady D, thank you very much. Thank you once again. Thank the listeners for having me. Looking forward to talking with you next week.
All right. Blessings, Chris Wilby. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the show this afternoon, Inside the Zone with Lady D, Denise Gomez. I do appreciate you listening and participating. We appreciate you very much. As always, thanks to my sponsors. Enjoy your Monday evening. God willing, I'll be back on Thursday to do it all over again with Center Stage, the platform where voices are heard and people connect.